Portland, Stephen and Taylor here again. Happy Easter Sunday. We're so glad that you're here with us. And we're going to play a couple songs to celebrate the resurrection, so feel free to sing along with us. Coming on the clouds, Kings and kingdom will
Heartland family and anyone else watching today. My name's Nicole, and I wanted to just give a little bit of a testimony to what Heartland means to me and my children. I've been coming to Heartland for about a year now. I believe in May it'll be a year. And I can't say enough about the people here at Heartland. I don't know what I would have done without them. I started coming back in May. My husband of 11 years had filed for divorce, and I had been a stay-home mom at that point for over 2 years again. I was a stay-home mom 4 years of my boys growing up, went back to work for 3 years, and then stayed home again for my second 2. So it was crushing, but I felt the Lord pulling me to go back to church. We were really good, faithful church goers back when we lived over in our old house in DeWitt. We went all the time, and then when we moved to the area, we just we had babies, and it got hard. And not that that's an excuse not to go, it's not, but I really ended up getting myself convinced that I didn't need to go to church to be a good Christian. I didn't need to go. I could be with God wherever I was. And I didn't need a church family. I really convinced myself of that. And I couldn't be more wrong, because the things that life threw at me last year, my divorce, becoming a single parent of 4 children, they were ages 9, 8, 2, and 6 months at the time. I had no job, no car, and was looking at this new whole life. Not to mention, my grandmother was really ill with breast and lung cancer. We lost her in July, and then the day I was driving home from her funeral, my oldest got sick. My husband had called and said that he was very sick. He had gotten sick 6 times that day. So I was worried driving home. Ended up being sick for another couple weeks. I took him to the doctor 3 times. And the 3rd time, thankfully, they discovered that he had a ruptured appendix and he was going septic. So they rushed us from St. John's to Lansing, where they found a 10 by 5 by 4 centimeter abscess in his abdomen. He was 9. He's 10 now. And so we spent about 20 days in the pediatric ICU at Sparrow. We almost lost him, and it was the scariest, most awful thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I had only been going to Heartland since May. So May, June, July, not even 3 months did I know my church family here at Heartland. And I can't tell you how many people supported me and my children through this difficult time. I got text messages, I got calls, I got cards, I got visitors. My family is not from the area. They live far away. There's some transportation issues, and I didn't have anyone. And the people that came forward and just came to be with me, to let me cry, to pray with me, to just bring Aiden gifts and just know that he was loved, and that to trust Jesus. I would name names right now, but there's just so many. I couldn't bear the thought of forgetting someone. So you know who you are, and I just wanted this to really come from my heart, and I just can't imagine my life without Heartland. And if you're looking for a church home, just come sit with us one Sunday at 11, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, when you walk through the door, I feel no judgment, no negative anything. People are just kind and welcoming and supportive and loving, and what church should be. And I've known friends and family in the past that feel that they can't go to church because they feel that unfortunately that they've had experiences where they feel that churches are full of people that are hypocritical, that say to live one way and they don't live themselves that way. And I've never felt more not that way in my life as I do at Heartland. I'm probably rambling and sounding like crazy, but I hate to even watch this back because I'll hate it, I'm sure. But anyways, I just wanted to share my experience with you. I love Heartland, and I can't imagine my life without you guys. So thank you all, and you won't be sorry.
Heartland Church. My name is Rachel Moline. My husband Lonnie and I have gone to Heartland probably three and a half years. A lot of people don't know this about us, but we struggled with infertility for 10 years. And we did all the testing and everything the doctor said to do. And they told us the only thing that could be done for us was IVF. And we just weren't accepting of that solution. Probably another 7 years went by, and we'd done a lot of praying and fasting. We'd been through prayer lines, and I just finally felt like the Lord laid on my heart the story of Nahum. And for those of you who don't know that story, his servant girl suggested that he go see Elijah the prophet for healing. He had leprosy, and Elijah didn't come see him. Nahum was a really important guy, and Elijah did not come see him. He sent him to dip in the Jordan 7 times, and the Jordan was a yucky, nasty river, and Nahum basically said, no, I'm not going to do that. And his servant girl pleaded with him and said, if the prophet had asked you to do something important, wouldn't you have done it? This is just as easy. And so he did. He finally went and he did it, and he was completely healed. And for us, our story, I wanted God to heal us in the natural ways. I was not willing to do IVF. It's a massive cost. I'm terrified of needles. And I just felt like the Lord had laid that story of Nahum on my heart and said, if I did it this other way, you'd be fine with it. So why not? And by the way, you don't really believe that I'm going to pay for this. So on a whim, I called up the doctor that we had been referred to and just started asking questions about the process and began coming up with a plan to save our money so that we could pay for this ridiculously expensive procedure. And the more I found out about it, the more terrified I was of it, because I realized it was even more complicated than what I had been led to believe. But on this phone call I had to the doctor's office, the nurse asked me some questions and told us that they were doing a research study, and asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And so I think it was like a week later we were in that office, and they laid out all their cards for us. This is what it looks like. This is what it's going to cost. And it ended up costing us probably a third of what it would normally cost. So there was one thing, and then it worked for us really, really way more than it should have worked. They say that the odds of IVF working it's 70% effective after 3 tries. And we were successful the first try. Not only the first try, but we had embryos left over to freeze. And each time we went back to have more embryos transferred, we were successful. We had 3 out of 3 successful embryo transfers, and we are so thankful to God for this resurrection story that he did in our lives. It has always been my heart's desire to be a mother ever since I was 3. And I started saving baby clothes when I was just a teenager. And it was just a really hard journey watching everybody else around me get pregnant and have babies, and while we struggled through, and God has been so faithful to us and well beyond our wildest dreams. And that's our story.
At the end of one of his messages, Pastor stood and addressed a crowd, saying, with every head bowed and every eye closed, who's willing to give up control to God? Just slip up a hand. And I can remember not raising my hand. I can remember that I didn't want to give up control. I wanted to be the master of my life. I wanted to control my life. And there was no way I was going to give up control to someone who felt so far away, so distant. So he paused for a little while, and then he addressed the crowd again, saying, to those who had not raised their hand, well, good luck. And I remember people around me chuckled at that, but to me, it was a punch in the chest. I'm Nathaniel, and at this point I had been failing pretty bad at controlling my life. I had an addiction to pornography. I was in a bad relationship, and work was my life. That was everything. Those were my only priorities. I was angry, tired, and I felt lonely a lot. I started going to Heartland Church kind of as a suggestion from my mom. She thought it was a mega church, part of a mega church from Lansing. But I continued to go because of people like Brian and Doug, who always greeted me at the door with a smile, or Shar with her infectious joy, and then people like Stephen and Taylor, who invited me over for life groups at their house. But I was still just a pew warmer. I just took up space. Finally, last April, things kind of came to a head. My relationship ended. I began working 2 jobs, and I was always broke. I was working from midnight to 5 at one job, driving an hour, and then working 6 to 5 at the other job. I would come home, I would eat, and then I would use alcohol to fall asleep quickly so that I could repeat the cycle again. And finally, I burned out. I remember coming to Pastor, meeting him at McDonald's after sleeping through a shift that I was supposed to work that morning. And I remember telling him my life story, and he spoke a lot of words of encouragement and gave me a lot of advice, and that's kind of what kicked off my journey. And it was, and it's still a struggle. But through the process, I found the reckless love of God that I'd been missing all this time, and that's what I'd been searching for all this time. And over the couple months, well, it's still going on, but over the couple months, things began to change. I was a lot happier. I was more active at the church. I installed Covenant Eyes on all my devices, anything that had internet access. And once I started tithing again, I was actually able to start saving money. And people around me started noticing it as well. I remember a guy at work said, man, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you back, he said. You know, as if I had changed into someone else. You know, and you know, God leaves the 99 for the one. I've struggled my whole life thinking that, you know, I wasn't enough. And what I found is that I'm not enough, and I never will be. But God loves me anyways, recklessly. One of my favorite songs says this: "There's no shadow you won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me. I fail him daily, yet daily he pursues me. There's nothing that'll stop his love for me. I just have to accept it." Now I want to end this with a passage from Proverbs. Basically it says, "Where there's no vision, the people perish." And what I found is vision. What about you?